My real name is Abdullah Sharaf, but people call me Boda because I've been living in Ireland, and before that I lived in the UK for a year. A total of 5 years living between Ireland and the UK. So it's much easier for the European people to say Boda, and I like the nickname, so I went by it. I'm originally Egyptian. I never actually lived in Egypt. It's very funny to me how much I love the place, even though the only time I got to spend in it was summer holidays. I was born and raised in Doha, which is in Qatar. It's where the FIFA World Cup in 2022 was, for those of you who are not familiar with the country. I was raised in a not very typical Arabic family. As you would know, or you might not know, a typical Arab family would usually want their kids to be, the best of the best, the top tier. And my family was not any different. They wanted me to be the best of the best, and they wanted me to be top tier. But their approach was the thing that I was lucky to have. My mom was also raised in Doha, Qatar, as a child, but she was originally from Egypt as well. She grew up in the 70s. My grandfather was an engineer, and she went to school there, and then went back to Egypt and met my dad. My dad studied medicine at Cairo University, graduated, and then they decided to move back to Doha for economic purposes. It's a better place financially to make a family, if you would say. The 10th of December 2002. I was born. I grew up with extremely loving parents. I'm very lucky to have them. Even though throughout my childhood and throughout my different phases of moving from an infant to a child to a teenager to a young adult, I've had my disagreements with them, but then slowly came to the realization that they only wanted the best for me, and that they were more experienced in certain things. I really love that my family always gave me the opportunity to try stuff. My family never told me that you can't do that. Actually, I take that back. My family would usually tell me you can't do certain things, but the way they raised me at the same time was the opposite of me listening to them. I learned from my mom determination, discipline, and to be the best. Unlike most Arabic families that want their child to be either an engineer or a doctor, my mom used to always tell me, I don't care what you want to be or what profession or what job do you want to work in, as long as you're unique and you're able to love it and progress and be the best at it. And that's where I learned how to be, or that's where how I learned I want to be top tier by choice, not because your family's pushing you. My dad was also extremely supportive in a different way. I'm very thankful that my dad is able to support me financially up to this day. He does his absolute best. People think just because, your dad is a doctor, he has a lot of money, but it's not really the case, because I have 3 siblings, 2 of them in universities, 1 in engineering and 1 in dentistry, and I'm a physiotherapy student, and university tuition fees are not cheap. So just because someone makes a decent amount of money because he worked hard to make that money does not mean that their kids are spoiled. That's why I don't really understand the people that say, especially the people from my age group that walk up to me and tell me, you're only able to bodybuild because, your dad is this or you have access to that. Well, suffering doesn't have to be through financial situations only. And just because I am able to have certain things does not mean I suffer financially in other things. My dad gives me a certain budget, and it's up to me how I spend this budget. I can spend this budget on days going out with friends, eating outside, grabbing treats, traveling, or I can spend this budget on supplements, a gym membership, a coach, bodybuilding gym equipment. That's a choice that's up to you. My dad also taught me how to be a man and responsible for my actions. The way he used to explain to me how he thinks certain things are not right that I want to do is he used to tell me, you want to do A, the outcome of A is B, and B is going to cause C. If you are okay with that, then go ahead and do it. And automatically that triggers a switch in my head and makes me think again on my own and make my own decision. I won't lie and say that I've always listened, because that's not the case. But I've learned a lot. My dad also taught me how to be patient, and I watched him with his patience through a lot of different both mental and physical sufferings. I watched him get up from 5 spinal surgeries and go back to his clinic and stand back on his feet and work. I watched him go through a lot of family issues and struggle mentally, and was able to keep calm and maintain the circle of family. I also learned from my dad how to be a man of God and to always have faith and to know and believe that God will never, ever waste anyone's efforts. Let me give you a brief example using a bodybuilding scenario so you can make sense of what I mean by God never ever wastes anyone's efforts. If I prep for a bodybuilding show and I know for a fact that I am not the biggest, the leanest, the best, but I've done my best. I've followed the diet to the T. I've spent every penny on the resources that I can manage to have. I have put the effort and energy and hard work in. On the other hand, someone who is bigger, leaner than me, who has a sponsor, and who has better genetics than me, does not have to work as hard, cheats on his diet, no problem at all. We both know that life is not fair. So he knows that he's gifted genetically and that he can get away with doing all these things and beat me. But what he doesn't know is that there's one small thing that can happen that can change everything. For example, on peak week, he can get injured and not show up to the show. That is something that opens up a door for the person, that is God opening a door for the person who has worked and put in the effort to get what he deserves. He can perhaps lose his mental stability and end up in a very bad space and give up on prep. It's his choice, he made it, but at the end of the day, it's God who puts everything in a place for a reason. Now, you don't have to hate on me for believing that. That's my own beliefs. If you believe something else, that's totally cool, it's totally fine. I'm just explaining to you what I believe. This channel is about what I am doing and how I am doing it, and it's about my journey.
Show I get to have this.
Fast forward a couple more years to my teenage years. After trying a variety of different sports, just like any kid at school, swimming, taekwondo, football, rugby, I never really found myself in any of these. And then clicked with me the track and field team. I became an athlete at the age of 12 on the throws team. I was a shot putter, a discus thrower, and a hammer thrower. After 2 years at the age of 14, I quickly evolved into setting national records in Doha in the hammer throw, and I specialized at hammer throws. When I was 14, I was recruited to be part of the Qatari national team and represent Qatar. I was also recruited to continue my secondary school in Aspire Academy. If you don't know what Aspire Academy is, you can look it up. It's kind of like the oxygen gym for track and field, for Olympic Games. People are recruited from, top tier athletes are recruited from all over the world at a very young age, and they go to secondary school there, and they live like soldiers. Wake up at 5 a.m., get a workout in, go to class at 7, meal plan, prepping everything. You finish class at around 10 or 11 a.m., you go for another workout, and then you come back and you go back to class again from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then you go for an end of day kind of gym session or circuit from like 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. and that would be it. Your phones was taken off you at 9 p.m. and you had to be in bed. And if you don't get up at 5 a.m. in the morning when they wake you up, they take away your room because it was a boarding school. They take away your room, and again, because it's a boarding school, you're not allowed to leave except on the weekends. So you have to sleep in the class or you have to find a hall to sleep in. So it's basically a punishment. I learned a lot there. I learned how to be responsible, how to take care of my own stuff, laundry, cooking, cleaning, studying alone, waking up on time, going to class on time. Because there was consequences if you didn't do all these things, but there was no one to tell you that you had to do them. The checks were done to punish you, not to tell you off. You have to go do them. After that, COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I did my leaving cert in COVID conditions in 2020, and I graduated. By the time I graduated, because of COVID, there was the World Junior Championship, and I was supposed to represent Doha in that competition. Unfortunately, the competition got cancelled because of the situation, and then I had to find a university. The national team offered that I take a gap year in order to focus purely on training, and then once the World Championships is over, I can go ahead and find a competition and find a university. Coming from a background with a dad who was a doctor with a master's and a PhD, and a mom who was initially an engineer before she decided to retire when she had me as a child, I decided to, or not I decided, but they advised me that the best thing to do is to focus on your studies, because the World Championships is not something that's on board. You don't know how long the situation at the time was gonna go on for. You don't know if you were gonna win or not, and it's basically gambling, like playing Russian roulette. So it wasn't really something that they were a fan of. I was angry at the time because I was told that I was supposed to get help into getting to a college because I was an elite athlete. And I was at the same time upset with my parents for not allowing me to take the gap year and focus on training, because I loved sports so much. I then ended up going to the UK and doing my foundation year in physiotherapy there. There was a couple of situations there. It was still COVID. It was quite very quiet year. But I met a couple of friends there from back home, and we lived together for that year. And I had kind of lost my track and field physique due to that couple of months of sitting at home and slamming down pizzas and stuff. So I've decided, you know what, guys, why not all three of us? Let's work out together. Let's do it here in this tiny flat that we're staying in Preston, the UK. And they were like, yeah, we're down. So we go onto Amazon, we order a couple of pull-up bars, bands. We order some protein stuff and supplementation, and we start cooking chicken at home and doing all that stuff. 6 months later, I went back home and everyone was like, what the hell? I was like, I did nothing. It was just push-ups and pull-ups. Like, come on. And like a couple of ab exercises. They were like, but your physique changed a lot. Because here's the thing. When I was a thrower, there wasn't really emphasis on the gym. We worked out mainly for power. We focused on the cleaning, the snatching, and we only did like 3 to 5 reps. And at the time I was 14, 15, 16 years old, so wasn't really, in my peak 17, 18s where your testosterone hits peak high. After returning home and my family seeing me and my friends seeing me, the gyms reopened. So I got a gym membership. And man, I saw my physique change a lot over the course of the summer of that 1 year. After that, I emailed a couple of other universities because I wasn't happy with Preston. It was kind of a very quiet area and quite expensive too, to be honest. And I got an offer at Ireland with a scholarship for my international athletic background to study physiotherapy. So I took it, but they had one condition. I had to get first class honors every year in order for the scholarship to continue. I took the scholarship and I went. And on my first year, I went to the college gym. I started working out there, continued my usual routine, and I spoke to one of the coaches at the college gym. And I was like, hey man, I'm kind of looking for a coach. Then it was like, yeah, we can coach you and stuff. And then I was like, yeah, but like I really want a bodybuilding coach, like someone who specializes in bodybuilding. So he looked at me and he was like, how old are you? And I was like 17. Then I was like, no way. And we get into all that talk again, and then he gives me the Instagram of Vinny Crane, who is still my coach up to this day and who's coaching me into the show. I then texted him. We started prepping straight away. We prepped for 9 months. We took an off season. I was very lean when I started off with him. I weighed around 87 kilo or 86 kilo. And I was walking around, I would guess right now that I was at the time around 12% body fat. So he put on some good size on me. I think we bulked up to 98. And the heaviest I was ever in my life was 100 kilo, and it was when I was sitting at home in that couple of months after COVID hit. But my physique at 98 was completely different. After that, we started dieting to do the first show. We did a drug tested competition. I won the super heavyweights. I weighed in at 87.5, absolutely shredded. So I weighed in at the same weight I started off, or a little bit heavier actually than what I started off with him 9 months ago. After that, I decided to pause my coaching with Vinny. Not because of anything, but because financially I just couldn't deal with the stress anymore. I just felt like it was a little bit too much for me to get a budget from my family that I was supposed to live with as a student. And I was already doing everything I could to save up money and put it into bodybuilding. And the one thing that was consuming a big chunk of my budget was the coaching. And that's not to say that the coaching budget or Vinny's price is high. Vinny's price is not high at all. But being a student is tough. And if you're a student and you're watching this, you know exactly what I mean. If you're a student and your family's spoiling you and you don't know the value of every pence, then that's not my fault. But everyone here who's watching this, whether you're a student who knows exactly what I'm talking about, or you're a grown man who knows what I'm talking about also because you've probably been through it, know what I mean. And by any meaning, I do not absolutely mean that this man was charging anything crazy or anything more than what he deserves. If anything, he's charging less than what he deserves. Chickens are done. We have checked in. The stage weight 92.5 with no pants, no jacket, no shirt. Last time I competed, I was 87.5. In 2022, I was 19. I've added 5 kilograms, 12 pounds over the past 2 years. I'm very happy and I'm very satisfied. On the other hand, I've realized that your boy has possibly also grown in height. Because... Sorry? Thank you, man. Thank you. See you. Your boy has grown in height. So the cutoff for my height is for class B between 178 and 183, which puts me at a maximum weight of 98.6 kilograms. To give you an idea of what I've been through thinking I won't make weight, because I thought the cutoff to my weight was 94.5, and this morning at 5 a.m. before catching my train I was 94.9. So I woke up at 94.9 at 5 a.m. and then I got on the train. I had 150 grams of beef and 50 grams of avocado at 9 a.m. and 200 mils of water. And I took my supplements with a double shot of espresso. And right now it's 4 p.m. So it's such a relief to have this done. On a good note, it was a good chance to speed up the drying process with me and the coach. So I paused my membership with him. And then I came back a year later and I was like, hey man, I really want to prep for another show. I thought I would wait until I graduated physiotherapy school and not be a student anymore so that I can be a little bit more relaxed. But after a full year of just putting on size and seeing my body evolve, I just missed the trunks. I missed the stage. And I missed the feeling of waking up every morning and going to bed every night dead and stressed because I gave every day 110%. And then it began again.
On the good side, yeah.
This guy's famous. We watched his YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe.